posters, just so you can see what, if you haven't ever used Padlet, you can see the kinds of things you can do. Basically, you can create different modules, upload images, make links to videos, and that sort of thing. And you can also leave comments. Most of the comments and engagement were happening.
Sorry, but Michael, your time.
All right, thank you.
Your time, but Michael.
Yeah, thank you. So I will just briefly show you one more example and then some conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you for the explanations, talking about formative assessment. The challenge is you are talking about interactions, how students interact, and also we need to consider how we design the learning and also assessment task. And you give the example how to use Padlet when you are doing the exhibition, digital exhibition. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next 13 minutes presentation will be done by Dr. Christine Slade. She is a senior lecturer, higher education, academic lead, assessment Institute of Teaching, Learning, Innovation, University. Dr. Christine is going to talk about detecting and addressing cheating in online assessment. Dr. Christine, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Lucky, and hello to everyone who's online and on YouTube. It's been very interesting so far what people have talked about in different aspects of online assessment, and mine is a little bit different too. So what I would like to talk to you about is addressing cheating in online in a bigger sort of perspective, and then
please unmute Miss Christine.
Miss Christine?
Sorry, something happened there.
Yes.
Do you want me to start again, or did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is addressing cheating from a design point of view, from assessment, and also a little bit around detecting and investigation. So in the big picture, I just wanted to set the stage because we have some research, and I noticed that the people from Monash actually said this too, that even though there's talk that cheating online is rampant, I would agree with them from some of the research that has been done in Australian universities, and in particular Tracy Bretagg's large survey of nearly 5,000 students. That survey actually found that Australian students engage more in cheating with people they know. So when we have commercial contract or ghost writing services, they tend to go more to people that they actually have some relationship with. And professional services were not used so much for online cheating, but more for examination impersonation. And that's something I think as a sector we haven't really addressed yet. And we live in the comfort that the on-campus centralized invigilated exams were very secure, but students are telling us that they do actually cheat in exams. And while you think that the fully online, say, master's student or external student has plenty of opportunity to cheat, this research actually found that it was the social networks and the peer relationships of students on campus that fostered more cheating than those who were fully online. And then I was thinking about, well, what sort of examples of online assessment are we thinking about here when we're thinking of this topic? And of course, examinations are very, they're used a lot in Australian universities. So we do have to consider what would we do when we put examinations online. And I think during COVID, that was probably one of the big challenges for universities, swapping from the online, from the centralised invigilated to online exams. And at the same time, being able to provide equity for students that were actually living in the Northern Hemisphere around the world, so they didn't actually have to get up at 2 or 3 a.m. to do their exam. But there's plenty of other things that we can think about assessment design for online. Besides essays and projects, we have portfolios, and I think at the moment they're currently under examined, because portfolios can do a lot for academic integrity in the sense that you're monitoring students' progress over extended periods of time or during collaboration. So the academic or the educator can actually look in and see what's actually happening across the assessment points in a portfolio. And then, of course, we have teamwork. And I think that's one of the things during the COVID beginnings that was very difficult for academics to actually move to online. They weren't really prepared necessarily, unless that was one of their focus, to move teamwork or group work. And of course, we've had quizzes around for a long time, either through the LMS or some other way, which can provide some affordances. And reflective writing informs, that's interesting too, because in this research, this large survey, they found that it was more difficult to treat reflective writing from practicums or an experience that the students had had. So this is a paper that we were asked to write, myself with two colleagues, way back now in 2016, and our university was very concerned about what was happening with academic integrity. So we wrote a issues paper, which was really talking about what's happening in other places and what's literature writing about. And these are the 8 prongs that we came up with. And I guess while I'm talking around assessment, I want you to think more holistically, because you can see there from policy development through support, actually dealing with cases of academic misconduct, your structures, your process, the education of students and staff, and technical solutions, which there are some, along with assessment design, they all really have to be put in place together. So that takes time and it takes buy-in, but this is the approach that we took in trying to combat some of the academic integrity problems we were having with our students. And I guess this is another point, and I know we've all been through the emergency remote teaching and we're still in it, but I think in that initial semester or two last year, it was very hard. It was more like a pivot. Everyone talks about the pivot, and it was an emergency process. It wasn't like we had plenty of time to design our assessment tasks and talk to other people and, you know, really have this, you know, holistic approach to thinking of clever, you know, strong, robust assessment online. And so I think we need to give ourselves credit for the fact that we've actually been able to manage getting stuff online if we weren't used to it. But there still is some other things that we should do if we want to actually make the complete transition to best practice in online teaching. And I've just given you there a paper that we've just written and published in Assessment and Evaluation in Higher Ed, which talks about what 70 of our academics did through that initial stage in about June last year on how to address their teaching online. And interestingly, they also found that the focus and the thing that they missed the most was that engagement and interaction. And really for assessment, they just usually, unless they were already familiar with it, they usually just adapted their assessment tasks by weighting or by the style of engagement to go online rather than producing anything new. So we've done quite a bit of work in contract cheating, which I'll talk about a bit more just in a couple of slides. But when you've now got maybe a bit more space after the COVID rush pivot, I've just given some ideas there around assessment design for online learning. So the things I'm thinking about here are really the high stake assessment pieces. So perhaps not every piece that you've got for the students to do online is as important as other ones. So perhaps one with the highest weighting or one that's going to be linked to their accreditation or whatever is the ones that you consider. And it's already been mentioned about proctoring. So you may have the need for an examination and you might need it to be proctored. But another encouragement is really to think about using higher order thinking tasks. So let's make it a little bit more complex. Let's make it around analysis. So students would have to think about how they're going to actually answer the task and save them from being able to look just at Google or something else to get one correct answer. We've looked at adding extra steps. So maybe there's just that one extra thing, like a Zoom Viva, a short one, or a video they have to record. And it's more around the fact of what was their thinking in how creating the assessment task and their analysis skills in deciding what to put in and what not to, and the priorities. It also helps to actually link assessment to class content. And you can actually work in class on assignments. Now, I know we have a crowded curriculum often, but we have found that if you just start the work with the students, some students would then feel more comfortable in approaching the task and prioritise it rather than stressing and actually leaving it to the last minute. I think being available to students' questions is important as well, and to make sure that the students know the task clearly and the marking criteria, and do this at an early stage before it comes close to their submission point. And it's also good to actually talk with your tutors if you have them who are marking assignments, so they're on the same page as you are. And that's another paper we wrote earlier on, but it does give lists of types of things you can do in assessment to reduce cheating. The other thing that we found very useful is so as the course convener or the educator in charge of the class, we think you should talk to students about academic integrity and the way that links between their professional integrity and personal integrity. Now, this comes from a set of slides. We just simply made like 5 slides, and we had discussion starters for the educators so they could have this prompted discussion with their students. So, for example, you might use this at the beginning of the course, or when just before the first assessment comes into play. We have a talk around the types of misconduct and what this might do for them in their studies. So we also tell them that the staff know that cheating occurs and we will be looking for it. A little bit around the risks. So what's going to happen to you if you buy a paper online? Well, we now know from some other research that students can be blackmailed for quite a long time after that and asked to pay money. But then, of course, there's also the institutional penalties that come into play. And the little link at the bottom, which you'll get because I've had is a blog that was just written by one of my colleagues yesterday, which talks more about that. So just quickly, detection and investigation using contract cheating as an example. And this is on the white part of this screen is the definition we use of contract cheating. So it's mainly around the student submitting work that's been completed by somebody else. So it's in the fact that they've actually submitted it as their own. And it doesn't matter whether that is a friend or the family, a family member, fellow students or staff members, or whether they've actually gone online and said, buy as an assignment. So we've taken a broad view of what contract cheating is. So this is the whole assessment task, not like plagiarism. Further, it's more serious than plagiarism if they just take snippets of things from other places. And you might be interested in how we've set up an investigation process for this. And it really starts with the marker. So sometimes course coordinators are the markers as well. But in other larger courses, we have tutors that actually do the marking. And we're very mindful that the tutors are contract or casual work people, sessionals who we don't want to labour with a lot of work to do around identifying contract cheating. But we do give them training very briefly about what to look for in a paper or what they're reading to see if there's some anomalies there and they have a hunch that it might be cheating. Then what happens is that the marker goes to their course coordinator, so the person in charge of the course, and they validate whether they think what the marker's suspicions were are correct. We also know that course coordinators have a lot of work to do, a lot of responsibility. So what we've tried to do here is we have an integrity officer in every school. So that's about 32 integrity officers, and that's a service role they have and we provide them with more professional learning. So around authorship is a tool, a technology that you can use to compare a student's submissions and turn it in over time. And they'll conduct the preliminary investigation and prepare a report. Now, if it was plagiarism or collusion or something, it might go on a bit different path from here. But this, because it's more serious, so C level 2 or 3 in our schema, it will then go to a faculty level officer and they will decide about the report, should go to the decision maker, and they're the ones fairly high up in a school hierarchy of responsibility that will make the decision. So this is the sort of model that we've been working on. We give a lot of professional development in these 3 spaces.
Thank you, Ibu Christine. The time is up.
Okay, well, you'll be able to see everything else. That was the last slide anyway, so they'll be able to, you'll be able to look up that further detail. I've left the references on the end if you want them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I highlight an important point that when we design assessment, online assessment, we need to consider some of criteria. One of it is high order of thinking that can reduce the cheating, and also we need a strategy to deliver the regulation or the such as contract cheating. So thank you once again, Dr. Christine, for the sessions. Now, respectful people, we are going to have Indonesian perspective about assessment. The first speaker is Bapak Eka Pramono Adi. He's a lecturer of educational technology, Malang State University. And he is going to discuss about smart assessment in online learning. Pak Eka, you have 10 minutes for the screen. Pak Eka, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lupi.
Most welcome, Pak.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to have a chance to present to you all in this webinar. Now, I'm okay. Can my screen is seen?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Can you make it bigger, sir? So present it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning. I'm in morning in Western time of Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay. Online learning innovation beyond borderless as a reflection of independence in self-assessment of the contemporary generation era. Okay. I start with satisfaction of our generation. We all know that our generation is, this is known as instant generation. They are surrounded by technology. Some researchers have concluded there are technology devotees generation. So the assessment need to be facilitated by technology that able to make independence as the learner's performance. There are three aspects of three sides of this notion. First, they are scientists. They develop the theories based on issues. They produce studies and scientific references. Second is the developer. They raise ideas and construct some steps of assessment as the learning products. And the third is practitioner. They packaging it effectively efficiently and attractively to be utilized instantly by the learners. Okay, so I come from Department of Educational Technology, Faculty of Education. The educational technology for the generation, in our perspective, there are 3 generations. First generation is that the assessment is implemented by correspondency. Many years ago, by printing textbooks, printed modules, and so on. There are second generation that assessment is applied via the internet, example, email discussion, chatting, and so on. And the third generation, assessment is utilizing whatever things in the learning environment of a learner personally. Okay. Now, the independent of learning, or which is known as Merdeka Belajar in Bahasa Indonesia, we have some parts. There are self-regulated learning. This is assessment role to view the engagement of the learning participants. Second, we have self-directed learning, that assessment able to view learners' commitment. And the third, there are self-determined learning. There is self-determined learning, assessment to be able to view the courage of the learner to decide, to make a decision during their learning period. And the fourth, there is seamless learning, assessment no longer limited by formally, but can be done anytime, anywhere, with anything as needed, as a student or lecturer, a student or a learner have a personal gadget, so they can use it anytime. And the fifth, there is personalized learning. There is assessment measure individual abilities and not to compare between individuals. Okay. Based on our research with my colleague, Dr. Henry, we have concluded that integrating collaboration technology with portfolio is an important thing. It's an important thing to minimize individual fraud. We mean fraud is cheating. Example of the implementation of monitoring collaboration and student portfolios through management software combined with Sipajar. In our university, we have a learning management system, which is known as Sipajar learning management. And in the system, we have a collaboration and portfolio. In collaboration side, peer assessment gives the role of colleges as partners. And in portfolio side, self-assessment provides reflection to each learner about their own abilities. Okay. Now we have to look at our philosophy or local wisdom. There are 4 things to underline. This is Taman Siswa, okay, trilogy, which is known as trilogy, found by Ki Hajar Dewantara in many years ago in 1930s. The first motto or first notion is Ingarso Sungtulodo. I'm sorry, in this in Japanese or Bahasa Jawa. In English, is both those in front should set an example. The teacher or lecturer gives example and assesses whether the examples can be applied. And the second is Ing Madyo Mangun Karso. In English, about for those in the middle should raise the spirit. In this notion, teacher or lecturer and students conduct peer assessment to see the effectiveness and efficiency of the project. And the third is Tut Muri Handayani, in English is for those behind should give encouragement. Every student do a self-assessment to explain the portfolio reflection. And the fourth, life-based independent learning. We also name LPL, life-based learning. Students are able to manage the learning environment and decide for themselves what needs to be applied in life. Okay. So this is the consequences of attention toward assessment development in online learning. We can see the picture or figure. We can see that developing distance learning, there are three lines. First, revolution of learning and instruction, and then needs of contemporary generation. The second is anti-revolution of learning and instruction, and so they keep the status quo as generation transition. Okay, and the third line is gradation, improving and distance learning services. So the serving the generation needs with a local wisdom consideration. Okay. Now, the smart assessment non-learning, we can conclude that we need scaffolding. Okay, in scaffolding, the teacher provides scaffolding to make students independent in each stage of the assessment. And second, the independent learning is to make each assessment independent so that students are successful in collaborating according to their unique personal abilities. And the third is Utagoji. Utagoji is a didactic approach as an entry point for student self-assessment so that students are successful in life through tacit knowledge. Within tacit knowledge is commitment, responsibility, work, ethic, etc. Okay, they are can develop helping learners to activate independence. Okay, thank you, Mr. Luki. That's all. I apologize if any words unpleasant you. Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
It's okay, sir. Thank you so much for being on time, and actually you still have 1 minute, but it's done, and I can grab the message that students nowadays need to be very responsible toward their own learning. So I can call self-student-centered assessment. For example, the tools is making portfolio. So, and also peer assessment. Yeah? By doing so, you call that it is smart assessment. Thank you once again, Pak Eka Pramono, for the presentation. All right, the second one, will be interesting. The presenter is from Universitas Gajah Mada University, Yogyakarta, Dr. Sunu Wibirama. He is an assistant professor, Department of Electrical Engineering and Information Technology. So he is not from education, but from Department of Electrical Engineering. It will be interesting to hear his presentation about alternatives to face-to-face assessment. For Pak Sunu, the screen is yours. 10 minutes, Pak.
Okay, Pak Luki, can you hear my voice?
Clearly, sir. Please
Okay,
go.
thank you very much. So let me share my screen. Okay, so have you seen the presentations? Can you see the slides?
Yes, Mr. Sunu.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much, Pak Luki, and all of the speakers. Today I learned a lot from all of you, and I'm going to explain and tell a story about my experience in providing alternative to face-to-face assessments. Just like Dr. Luki said, I come from engineering background, not educational or pedagogical background. So perhaps this will be interesting for you who come from backgrounds other than educational or pedagogical technology. Okay, so before I explain my experience, I would like to present the results of survey. The survey was conducted by Center of Innovation and Academic Study from the UGM. And as you can see here, in March and April, we conducted a survey to more than 10,000 students. And as you can see in the slide that actually we have quite a good experience in online learning activities, but you know that in the quality of assignment, we got a 3.37 out of 5. So we still need to improve how we conduct our evaluation or our assessment so that as you may see previously, we can assess the students out of cheating or out of fraud. And if we talk about assessment, actually you have to separate the types of assessment based on what you want to assess. For example, if you want to assess the knowledge of the students, then you have to, provide assessment that based or centralized on the knowledge test. And if you want to assess on application of knowledge, then you have to, you have to try to create assessment so that students can apply the knowledge they get from the class. And then, of course, some courses they try to test, they try to assess the demonstration skills. So you have to develop assessment to know whether the students can have a good performance on the skill that they have learned in the class. And beyond all of that, of course, if you want to assess the professional practice, you have to create a holistic assessment. So it consists of performance, applied knowledge test, and the knowledge test itself. And the second one that you have to take into account when you want to design assessment is, of course, you have to look into your learning outcomes. And as you may know, a lot of universities in Indonesia already implement the OPE, the outcome-based education. And first, of course, you have to define the aim of your course itself, and then you define the learning outcomes, or CPMK in Indonesian term. And then after that, you align what you want to assess based on your learning outcome. And then after that, you decide what kind of learning and teaching activities that support the learning outcome. And of course, that will be assessed in future. So this is basically how we design the assessment. And actually, when we talk about OBE or outcome-based educations, of course, we have to design assessment prior to conducting the teaching activities. So you provide the assessment first, you provide the design of assessment, you provide the document for assessment, and then you conduct the teaching and learning activities. And as you may see, actually, when we talk about assessment, you already seen from the previous presenters, there are a lot of assessment. In particular, when you heard from the Australian presenters, you got a lot of information about how to do the face-to-face assessment through the poster presentations, to the short FIFA from Zoom or synchronous software. But here we would like to present our experience on how to do a non-face-to-face assessment. And of course, you have to consider not only the immediacy of the assessment, but also the capacity of your internet bandwidth. For example, if you have good connections, if you have a good internet connection and your students as well, then you can do like a recorded video presentations, just like what I'm going to present in the next slides. But if your students do not have good internet connections, or they are staying in rural areas or remote areas, then of course you have to adjust type of assessment. And what we are currently doing in our university is we combine both of recorded video presentations and the audio in PDF of presentation, so that the size of the files for assessment is not too big, and the students can send or can transfer the files through email or e-learning system. Okay, so as for the case study, I would like to explain about our course. I taught this course in the previous semester. This is artificial intelligence course for undergraduate level. You can find the video online in YouTube. I already uploaded all of the video lectures there, and you can see all of the materials. But for the assessment, we provide a specialized online learning platform. We use the UGM online platform. It's called ELOC. It's basically based on Moodle. And we have here 3 learning outcomes. So the first learning outcomes is students are able to understand and to articulate basic concept of AI and knowledge-based system. And the second one, students are able to understand and to apply computational concept of fuzzy system, genetic algorithm, and deep learning. And the third learning outcome is students are able to understand and to implement selected techniques of machine learning through Python programming. So as you may see here, that out of 3 learning outcomes, we have 2 outcomes that are practically based on knowledge, understand or apply. But for the third learning outcomes, it is a practical, it's like a demonstration skills. The students have to demonstrate their skills, and then we have to assess the skill itself. And for the first and the second learning outcomes, we assess the students through online assessments such as quizzes and written assessment. And then for the third learning outcome, we have 2 assessments. The first is individual assignment, just like Pak Eka said, we have independent learning there. So we encourage the students to learn outside our class, and then to take online examination in the learning in the separate learning platform, and then to prove that they already complete the assignment by uploading the certificate. I will show you later on. And then we have also the group assignments, which is like a small project to implement machine learning techniques with Python programming in a predefined data that we provide to the student. Okay, so this is for this first and the second learning outcomes. As you may see here, we use our online learning platform. It's ELOC based on Moodle. So we create an online quiz here. Not only one actually, but for the sake of simplicity, we only present one screen capture here, so the students can implement what they got in class, and then they try to, choose one answer from multiple choices and answers. And then we also provided written assessment. This is for the midterm examinations. So the students have to answer some questions, and then they have to analyze some cases in the written assessment. And for the third learning outcomes, just like I said before, we have 2 kind of assessment here. The first assessment is the students were asked to finish 3 courses from a third-party learning platform. We use the DataCamp platform. This is a commercial platform, but we have a collaboration with the DataCamp, so we can get a premium access to the system, and then the students can register as a member in a team, and then they can choose some courses that we already selected previously. And then the task that we gave to the students, they had to finish the course, the 3 courses in a certain period of time. And then after they finish these courses, they had to upload it. They had to upload the certificates to their LinkedIn account. So they had to create a LinkedIn account, and then they had to upload the credentials of the certificate so that they can, so that LinkedIn can validate the certificate, and then it can create based on the timeliness of finishing these 3 courses. And then for the group assignment, we assign a small programming project to the students, and then the students should submit online presentations. This is what I call perhaps similar like a small Viva that Dr. Christine already told you before. But here we ask the students to send the recorded video so that we know how they analyze the problem, how they went through the solution to to solve the problem, etc., etc. And then of course they they also have to submit the code so that we can assess whether they can solve the problem correctly. Okay, I think this is the final slide. Beside assignment, I think you have to submit feedback to the students, because this is the most important one. So if you have a lot of assignments, I think you have to do a lot of works, because you have to give them feedback so that they can improve their skills. They can they can improve their competencies later on. Thank you very much, Pak Lucky.
Thank you, sir.
This will be useful for you.
Thank you, and for everybody here as well. So Mr. Sunu promoting the competency-based assessment, I think. Based on OPE philosophy, outcome-based education philosophy. And he is also mentioning that when we are designing the assessment, we need to consider the learning outcomes, which is really important before we creating the indicators or the criteria, and also the task itself. So it should be aligned from learning outcome, the criteria of the assessment, and also the task. So thank you once again, Pak Sunu, for the presentation. The last presentation, the next presentation will be Dr. Gatot Fatwanto Hertono. He is the Director of Academic Development and Learning Resources, Universitas Indonesia. Dr. Gatot is going to deliver a topic, engagement in online assessment. 10-minute screen is yours, Dr. Gatot.
Okay, thank you, Pak Lucky. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Can you see the slide, Pak Lucky? Okay, yeah. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for thank you for the opportunity given to me in this webinar. So in this session, I will share our experience in UI about how to make student engagement in online assessment, especially what we have done in implementing case-based and project-based learning. So why I like to explain about the case-based and project-based learning. So I will tell later. Okay, so as we know that actually many methods can be used in online assessments. Right now, most learning management system have various features for assessment or online tests. For example, in Moodle, we can find features to provide multiple choice question, short answer, and essay. But online assessment is also can be done in the form of a project or e-portfolio or presenting computer simulation. And we know that similar to the assessment on face-to-face learning, then we can also conduct an assessment by considering such as student participation and also competence in soft skill or hard skills. And from the aspect of the instruments, I think in assessment, as we have also in face-to-face learning, we can also use like a rubric or a logbook or a student report or a student portfolio to assess student performance in achieving learning outcomes. But in this session, I will not discuss all of this type of assessment, but I would like to share our experience related to assessment that can be carried in case-based or project-based learning. So we all know that since the pandemic last year, many higher education institutions have had to run online learning. Some of them have to run it fully online, and the rest have to run it in blended mode. But on the other hand, in 2019, in order to support higher education transformation, the ministry has also launched a program known as Merdeka Belajar Campus Merdeka. So I think previously Prof. Bin already mentioned about this. So this is a new program. Then it's supposed to be support the university to get the transformation in higher education. And in this case, to support the Merdeka Belajar, the key performance indicators are set to for all university of in Indonesia. And one of the indicators here, as I showed in the red box here, is related to the application of collaborative and participatory classes, where the evaluation is based on project-based learning and also case-based learning. And I think if we refer to the KPI, most of university in Indonesia should get a target about 35% of the total courses should be implemented in those two methods. And that's why I would share on how we do in UI online assessment on the project-based learning and case-based learning. We know that the case-based learning and also the project-based learning actually is a part of the student-centered learning, where student engagement is the key to success. So here as an example, I show that there is an assessment strategy that we apply in a general course at the university level in UI that show that the course is designed as a case-based learning. So we can see here, student can, during the learning process, they can looking for the content or the material related to the topics that is assigned in MOOCs or open education resources. They can choose freely. And then after that, they have to write down a report and also self-reflection into a portfolio. So in this case, the lecturer or facilitator will assess based on the portfolio submitted by the student. So this is happened in last semester in general course in UIs, like in national ideology, we call it Pancasila, and also civic or queer kewarganegaraan. So this is one kind of assessment strategy that we implement in case-based learning. And the next example, we also apply the case-based learning. And in this example, I take from the course in the Department of Mathematics is related to the mathematics modeling. So here the lecturer first, the lecturer explained about some cases that should be solved by the student. So the student can interact with the lecturer through synchronous mode like Zoom or Microsoft Teams application, and then each group I mean that the lecturers give several quiz and distribute to several groups in the class, and each group and a facilitator discusses the solution of a given either synchronous or asynchronous using the learning management system, or synchronous using online meeting application. And after that, the result of the discussion were developed by each students independently, I mean that individually. And these two process can be carried out iteratively. So after the student finish to do their job, they can go back to the discussion with the group, and then in the group they can try to find out the solution of the cases. And after they finish the result, or they already find the model or the output of the cases, the student must make a group presentation and make a report. So here, student activity during the discussion, and also student contribution, and also the quality of presentation, and also their report. So this is the assessment that is conducted by the lecturer. And in case of the project-based learning, similar to case-based learning, assessment in project-based learning also focuses on student activity and also student engagement. So as part of the course, students are given a project to do, and then during the project, a facilitator will accompany each group. And in some cases, sometimes they have to go to one place to do the project. So it should be do in like in face-to-face or in offline. And then each group of the discussion were developed individually. So after they after they discuss, they can continue with individual work, and this process also can be iterated. They can go back to the group or the forum to discuss more about the project. And to show the output or a product, each group have to present a demo or a result of their work. So using a synchronous presentation using like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, each group has to present their product or their a demo of their product, and to show the result of their work. And similar to this, the other strategy, so in this case, a lecturer will assess student activity during doing the project, and also during the discussion, their contribution, and also quality of product and or reports. So this is related to the project-based learning assessment.
Cut out the time, Pak.
Okay, yeah. So this is the final slide. So what to assess? So we can see most strategy assess student activity in discussion, involvement in working on project, and the quality of the output of they produce. But it doesn't mean that what I show here is the only way to assess online in case-based or project-based learning. We can develop other forms of assessment or add other assessment component as needed.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
So back to you, Pak Luki.
Thank you so much, Pak Gatot, for sharing the best practice on collaborative and case-based assessment. Ladies and gentlemen, the last speaker will be Professor Dr. Dean Wahyudin. He is Professor of Curriculum Development, Curriculum and Educational Technology, Faculty of Education, Indonesia University of Education. Professor Dean is going to discuss about measuring outcomes and learner achievement in online programs. The 10 minutes screen is yours, Pak Dean.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Luki, Mas Luki, for letting me to have present my topic to be discussed in this event. It is my honor to have opportunity to share with our colleague from Australian University as well as from Indonesian University. Let's share my screen. Why sorry, yeah. Sorry. Here. I still have problem with the assessment. Hopefully it can be seen my screen. Can you see? Pak Luki, can you see my screen?
We saw the final manager, Pak. Not your
You need to
presentation.
present it. You need to present it, sir.
Yes, it can be seen.
Yes.
Your screen can be seen, but not your PPT, not your PowerPoint.
Okay. I have a little problem with my present, what my paper. Okay. Gimana ini? Tidak bisa kelihatan. It cannot be seen there.
Stop screen dulu, Pak. Nanti masuk ke itunya, Pak.
Okay, stop screen. I have done it. Actually, I have prepared it. Okay.
Open your presentation first, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Hopefully it can be seen.
Not yet.
Yes.
Not yet?
Yes, sir. I can see it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Again, thank you very much for opportunity to present my paper. I begin this presentation with two inspiring quotes. Hopefully, it will inspire us why we are having discussion today. First, I take from John Cowan. He was a United Kingdom lecturer in the United Kingdom, and the topic is, but the assessment is the engine which drives student learning. So all of the presenter agree that assessment is the engine. It is very important part of the total student learning. So the assessment should be put into the most considered things. Secondly, fortunately, Professor Henderson, one of the presenter today, I have learned some paper from him, and I took a quote from his research. Assessment feedback for learning is the key, is a linchpin to student effective decision making and the basis of improved learning outcome. However, according to him, feedback is underutilized and often misunderstood by both students and some educators. So here is the two quotes I take in line with my presentation. So according to my topic is concerning with measuring outcome and learner achievement in online learning programs. First, I talk firstly about the assessment and relation with MBKM. It has been mentioned, but with our directors, that MBKM, Freedom to Learn Independent Campus, is one program launched by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology to improve the country education system, especially in higher education program. And in terms of curriculum planning, talking about assessment, the program consists of 4 components. So goals, first goal shall be accomplished. Secondly, essential learning content. And the third, concerning with delivery system. And the last one, assessment shall be conducted. So our discussion for today mostly talk about the assessment. I would do underline that if we talk about assessment, it should be considered with others component of curriculum. This is the goal, essential content learning, and delivery system. In this brief presentation, I will discuss the role of assessment as a very important component in curriculum in measuring outcome and learning achievement. I took the definition of curriculum related with the assessment in according with the law number 11 year 20 and 11 section 345. The curriculum is higher education. Curriculum is set and of plan and arrangement for goal, content, material of teaching, and how they are used as the basis of learning activities. So the point here, when we talk about assessment, we talk about the plan and arrangement of the curriculum. Firstly, we should consider what goal, what the purpose, what competencies shall be achieved in online program. So it has close relation with the third one, about the last one about assessment. Secondly, about content and material, and the third about how the material should be delivered effectively even in COVID-19 period. Now, in this case, I believe that assessment is a very critical component of the online classroom, as it has been presented clearly with our previous presenter. It provides students with ideas of their progress in a course, identifies individual strengths and weaknesses, might be about the cheating and something unfair activities, and ultimately serve as the measure of whether students achieve on course learning objective. So although this characteristic serve a valuable instructional and pedagogical function, it is important that the assessment engage students and prepare them with the skill they need in the future course, especially in practicum and even in their career for future work in the future time after they have graduated. I also mentioned 2 basic type of student assessment in online teaching learning activities in higher education. Firstly, formative assessment occur within an online course or lesson and are used to determine how well student has learned. They are based when they are ongoing, consistent, and provide critical feedback. Secondly, the assessment is intended for summative assessment. It is referred as a final exam and measure what student has learned after completing the course. They can validate how well your content support to the course. Some of discussion has been discussed in depth by previous presenter. But the point is, formative assessment is very important as a part of learning process in order to improve the process of learning conducted by the student, even in online program. While summative assessment is for decision in order to have grade after completing the course. Okay, I will let the others. Now, when we talk about curriculum component relating with the assessment in online program, it can be seen here the relationship between goal competencies should be achieved. It also contained with graduate profile, learning outcome. It has been already done by our university, by individual lecturers. Essential content, I mean, the teacher, the lecturer should carefully choose what essential content should be put on the program of online program. And the third one is delivery system. What method and strategies of learning should be conducted even on online project. And the last one is the assessment itself. Measuring learning outcome, it consists of type of assessment as it has been presented by previous lecturers, formative and summative, and it can be test and no test. And portfolio is also one of the summative done by our lecturers. Because
your time, sir.
Okay, the last one. Okay, the final remark. So here is the way to access student learning on online program. Taken from online quiz, say question, drag and drop activities, and online interview, dialogue simulation, online game types activities. The last one, final remark. So again, I conclude that assessment in online program is a very critical component on online. It provides students with ideas, cognitive weakness, and we can measure the achievement of student learning objective. Secondly, assessment feedback is very important for learning, as it has been mentioned by our colleague, Professor previously, that effective decision making and the basis of improving outcome. Learning assessment standards are minimum criteria for student learning process and outcome. It also can be implemented in online program. Last but not least, assessment tool, as it has been presented by previous presenter, that allow us as a lecturer, as teachers, to generate engaging tasks for online assessment. So the point is how we appropriate way to assess students, so we can see, how the importance of assessment in order to see the progress of student learning. Thank you very much. Hopefully it is very important for us. Thank you very much. Pak Luki, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Din Wahyudin, for the presentation. Respectful audience, I would like to ask another 10 minutes for the question and answer sessions. Since we only have very limited time, so I would like to read 2 questions only, and then let the speaker answer the questions. Beside all the speakers, we also have Dr. Jasmine Thomas as the panelist. She is the Associate Director, Academic Integrity, Academic Transformative Portfolio, University of Southern Queensland. So I would like to choose a question from Ibu Novi Ramadhani. She's a student. Yeah, she is a student. The questions goes to Mr. Michael Ewing, and the questions are: what are student problems that usually occurs when studying online, and how can actually be involved with student distant learning during the current COVID-19 pandemic? Once again, Dr. Michael Ewing, what are student problems that usually occurs when studying online, and how can faculty be involved with student distant learning during the current COVID-19 pandemic?
All right, thank you. Thank you, Pak Luki, and thank you for that question. I think for me personally, as an instructor working with students online, the biggest problem I find is the engagement of the students in real time during a class, because so many students want to have their cameras off, and it's very difficult to get the feedback from them. In a classroom, you can see how students are engaged. You can walk up to them, talk to them individually if it's a small class, but on a Zoom, in a Zoom environment, the few very active students will be very engaged, and it is quite difficult to draw out the other students. And so finding ways to do that is probably the way to get around that challenge. It's very hard. It's something I talk with a lot of colleagues about. I think working in breakout rooms, giving them very concrete tasks to work on in breakout rooms, and then moving between the rooms yourself as an instructor is useful. Also, being very clear on tasks, sort of like I was talking about, tasks that really engage students, in which to complete the task in class, they have to produce something, some sort of analysis or commentary, and come back and report on it. Maybe when I put people into groups, I ask them to nominate one spokesperson, so we know when we come back together to discuss things that that person will speak. So I'm not just saying, does anybody have any ideas? And there's just blank silence, which can often happen in Zoom classrooms. So it's thinking through classroom activities that are engaging and finding techniques to bring students in. Just off the top of my head, those would be the things I would say right off. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Pak Ewing, Pak Thomas. Dr. Jasmine, are you here? Do you want to add some more?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. And thank you for the question. I think that Michael has set a fantastic approach to that question, because you're right, engagement can be exceptionally difficult when we're doing online teaching, and it's when students are disengaged that we find that the pressures that they're facing increases, which then can contribute to academic integrity being compromised. So my recommendation for staff is, of course, to engage in those activities that were spoken about previously, but also for students to be willing to participate and get the most out of their classes, because it's only through that then that they can gain the confidence so that they maintain the integrity of their assessments.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dr. Jasmine. The second question goes to Pak Sunu Wibirama from Sriani Stimik Handayani. He is a lecturer, and the question is: for the third learning outcome, your students were required to complete 3 related courses. 3 related courses and uploaded the certificate. wait, not see the questions. Are those, I cannot see the question, sir, but that's the statement from the questioner. Maybe Pak Sunu can answer the statement, sir.
Yeah, so yeah, basically we have, yeah, can you hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, basically we were 3 lecturers in this class, and all of us already agreed that the student itself should have a basic competencies, and we require the student to have a programming competencies, because they will use this competency to solve the problem in the group assignment. So all of them should complete 3 courses. Actually, it's a very basic courses regarding the programming using Python, and a basic machine learning course. And they have to complete within a period of time, like 2 weeks. So they have to complete within 2 weeks, and then they submit the certificates to the teaching assistant. And then we also created them based on the punctuality of the students when submitting the certificates and uploading the credentials in LinkedIn account. That's what we were doing during the course. So to make sure that they have basic competencies, just like that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to say thank you to all participants who have already shared the questions, but I'm afraid I could not read one by one since the time. But again, by giving the questions, I think we need to appreciate your engagement to the seminar. So once again, thank you, Bapak Ibu and ladies and gentlemen, for this the time, and I will give the screens to Ibu Rasya.
Thank you, Mr. Lucky Cahyana Subadi, for being a great moderator for today's agenda. We have so many questions, but unfortunately, we have a very limited time. Okay, and then about the presentations of all the speakers, we will upload it. I've already read the chat box. Many participants ask about the materials. We are going to upload it on Spada Indonesia website. Okay, spada.kemdikbud.go.id, or you may Google it. And we have already provided questionnaires of knowledge management on the chat box, or we are going to share the questionnaire of knowledge management on the chat box. We ask for your willingness of all the participants to fill in the questionnaires on the chat box. Okay. The honorable ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the agenda. Australia-Indonesia Virtual Online Higher Education Policy Dialogue, Assessment, Evaluation, Integrity in Online Learning. But before we end the agenda, we will hear the closing remarks first from Ms. Elizabeth Campbell-Dorning. To Ms. Elizabeth Campbell-Dorning, the screen is yours.
Thank you. I will be very quick because I know we've taken up a lot of your time today. It's been such interesting content. And whilst this webinar is at a close and this series is at a close, our conversation is not at a close. And the number of your questions just makes it clear how much appetite there is for continued dialogue on this topic, but also the other topics that we've had in this webinar series as well. So my sincere thanks to you all, to speakers, to panelists, to our partners in the government of Indonesia. This has been a real group effort, but I especially want to single out our speakers and panelists. They are the experts on these topics, and I think you've done an absolutely outstanding job in sharing your expertise on all of these different aspects on the design and delivery of online higher education. And I really hope that this isn't the end. I hope that we can build on this webinar, not only in our government-to-government relationship, but in our institutional partnerships and the conversations that happen between Australian universities and Indonesian universities also. So I do encourage you to keep the dialogue going, to reach out to the speakers from both Australia and Indonesia, to rewatch the webinars on SPADA and other platforms, because we still have a lot to do in this space and a lot to learn as well. And there's always more opportunity to learn, and I think there's very good reason to do so, because it's going to directly benefit our students, our lecturers, our institutions. And with that, I will say once again, sincerely thank you. Until next time, sampai jumpa lagi.
Sampai jumpa lagi, Miss Elizabeth Campbell-Dorning. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, thank you for all the speakers and also all the participants who already attend via video conference or YouTube channel. We hope this meeting will bring the mutual benefits between Indonesia and Australia and gives us a chance to carry out all the suitable strategy on developing the capacity of the academic community, especially on online learning. Thank you for your attention. Final words, I say have a good day.